welcome to the Dominate Healthcare podcast, because lack of domination is just not an option. I'm here with a really great friend of mine, highly respected chiropractor, somebody I deeply respect myself, who's really transformed his community. I love that you call yourself Clermont's chiropractor. I think it's even bigger than that, but welcome Dr. Paul Sorchy.
Hey, I appreciate it. It's an honor and a privilege, my brother.
So, Dr. Paul, we go through on the podcast, I always go through there's the why, there's the what, and there's the how. So for people that don't realize, so you are the literal definition of a world changer. So you're looking at the way the world eats and gets its food and grows its food. You are looking at transforming the chiropractic community. You head up boards of chiropractic that run the state of Florida. You have a massive chiropractic clinic. One of the things I love with consulting for an office like yours is I visited a couple times, and the avalanche of patients coming in, their new patients, existing patients, is enormous. And not just that, they're flocking to this chiropractic center, but also hundreds of others are going upstairs to your gym or going to the front to the juice bar, or they're buying organically grown produce from your farms. So it's just amazing what you have going on. So what's pushing you? Like something's pushing you that doesn't push other people. There's a big why in your life.
There's a need. First and foremost, there had to be the established need that there's people who are dying. We've heard this how many times, that there are sick, suffering, and dying people out there, and we are the answer. So when it came out to that fact that, hey, I can remove the interference. I was taught first and foremost, remove the subluxation, take the pressure off the nervous system. And so we did that. And yet they were still, in many cases, sick, suffering, and dying. So it's like, well, okay, now let's talk about some chiropractic lifestyle changes, because although your innate is doing its best free expression of self, the problem is that there's limitations of matter that innate has to work with. You weren't given it the proper sustenance. You weren't eating, like BJ talked about, real food. So we needed something real for the body to utilize. So when we had patients, for instance, that needed rehab, I realized that the reason their back still hurt is that they weren't necessarily doing anything outside of the office, but dependent upon me to continue to put it back into position. Turned out the rehab was the only thing that was missing. So I love to work out. I wanted a couple of pieces of equipment, and it didn't take very long to realize that all the equipment that I wanted to buy would actually fill an entire gym. So why not have other people pay to use my equipment? And so we opened up Lord's Gym. It was the first Christian gym franchise officially that we're aware of in America. And we took that nationwide for a season. But so my gym upstairs is a Lord's Gym.
As you know, I worked out in the Lord's Gym in North Carolina, and it was it was a big, beautiful gym. Yeah, that was a great franchise. That was a fantastic ministry.
Loved that one. That was Lord's Gym and Spa. Fantastic facility.
Yeah.
They when we went to down that road, the why was simply, well, it became mission minded because it was a Christian base. We had an outreach formula that went with that. Amazing how much fun it is to be in an environment where you own a business, but it's not just a Christian business, it's a Christian business. Not to say that we were secluded anybody, but that was the theme. It was a lot of fun. But the impact of it was really just chiropractic lifestyle. BJ talked about motion. He talked about it with Hubbard, that motion was necessary. And so when we went down those roads, it then opened up the vehicle that, hey, we were about nutrition. But when people came back, they were eating bowls full of chemicals to get better, because they were just dirty dozen plants and berries, and they were still battling cancer. And so it was confusing. So I thought, well, we're going to have to develop farms to grow the produce, because I didn't trust the source of my own organic juice and smoothie bar. So I had to develop aquaponic farms, and now we've got
so stop there for a second, just because aquaponic, so it's mind-blowing, right? I've been to a couple of your farms. It's like nothing anyone's ever seen. So these are not just some farms with organic food, which would be fantastic if that's what it was. But you have many, many farms. It's a new technology. It's a revolutionary way to grow food. and you're beginning
Yes.
to feed the masses. So give us a little insight in that, because the thing about the what with you is you have 7 times more businesses than the average chiropractor will ever dream of having. But it's big. Like, it's not just one farm. I think it's 10 farms at this point, correct?
Yes, we're building 11, 12, and 13 by the end of this, by summer of next 2024.
Wow.
Our, I don't recommend this for everybody. There's a bit of insanity that goes along with it. But aquaponics, so it's the world of aquaculture where you raise fish. In this case, we grow St. Peter's fish, which are Florida blue tilapia. Uh, Contrary to conversations, tilapia are a clean fish when they're fed properly in a pH environment. My fish are raised in a pure spa. So, just for the record, our tilapia are healthy protein. But so we raise the protein, the fish in an aquaculture, but then we merge that with hydroponics, which is plants that are growing in water. And we've got beds of where they float on the water, and in that the roots come through those beds, and that's where the nutrition is gathered up into the plants. It guarantees me that I know that my produce will not harm, but it will always help. It's kind of like innate intelligence. It will never injure nor destroy the structures within which it works. That's my purpose for the aquaponics.
Yeah, and I think as we look into the future and people have a fear that there just won't be food, never mind healthy organic food, that you're really solving not just a problem now, but you're possibly going to be helping feed us all as we go into what appears to be pure Armageddon moving
Sure.
forward.
A very
So,
realistic concern. And
yeah,
I don't want to shoot hungry people. I want to feed them. And so if we're going to be a solution, or if we're going to try to look for a solution, and we're always told that we are the solution, so that's what this is once again, being the solution for the masses.
yeah, and I agree. It's a viable future that food is a problem, and particularly nutrients that actually serve our body. And then when you walk into your clinic, and it maybe just kind of tie a knot on this particular part here today, there's actually to the right, you got a juice bar on one side. Tell us a little bit about that. And then on the other side, you can pick up your organic aquaponic farms fruits and vegetables, or basically vegetables at this point. So tell us a bit about that part of the ministry there.
Since day one, we always had we called it a smoothie bar, which was just protein smoothies in the beginning. However, I didn't want that much fruit. That was a lot of sugar. And I wanted more green juices. So I was also juicing green juices. So I know that I get a beet juice at 4 o'clock every day. And at 10 o'clock, they bring me a green juice. So that's my mid morning snacks. I wanted that for me, but it was difficult to do it myself every time. So I thought, why not wrap a business around my need? So basically, I have people who make juices for everybody that they can order, but it's really just because I wanted it. I mean, I got to be honest with you, Ben. All these decisions were, to some degree, selfish momentum because it was for me, because it was difficult to find these things. And if it was difficult for my family, then it's difficult for others. But the juice bar, when you walk in, you can get them in 3 sizes. You can get keep them with the Lord's Gym idea. You can get a Goliath, which is the large. You can get a David, or if you just want to try it out, you can get a Zacchaeus. the The smoothies themselves are all protein based, plant protein, or we can have a grass fed cow protein that where the milk is fed properly. Our sources are what everybody who's ever been involved with you in any capacity, Ben. It's really like it should almost say that this is Dr. Lerner approved. Uh, but the juices in the smoothies were just part of the gym to answer some of that equation, to enter in our delivery system, to know that they're going to eat things that are healthy and going to be viable for the body. The juice, when you look to the right, though, there's the vegetables that we grew in the gardens that we supply our own smoothie and juice bar with as best as we can. Those are available to my patients on everything that comes off the farm. Every week, they get a package if they choose to pay. And that's waiting for them on Thursdays and Fridays, hopefully keeping them consistent with their maintenance care. They would pick up their bag, and they love the produce that comes from the garden. We always grow as exclusively as best we can the Dirty Dozen. and then we work our way down. So when people ask, what do I grow? It's everything on the Dirty Dozen for sure that is a vegetable, and then we work our way down to level of importance.
It's amazing, and we can go on as to why
Sure,
you're
sure.
Clermont's chiropractor, just because you are involved with your church. You are still leading a big part of the leadership for the Florida Chiropractic Society, which if you're not from Florida, those are the good guys. So you're still
Yes, that's right.
heading that up. So you're doing so much for Clermont, and it's made you, and that's really the vision that we all should have. When God plants you in a particular community, you become that community's chiropractor and its wellness leader. Yours is the Life Center. You see the big life lettering on your shirt there, and I really see it as it's the Life Center way. That's really what you get
Yes.
when you come to your chiropractic clinic. So kind of, more on the how there. So when you and I first started working together, first you come to our trainings with our doctors. Second, you were working for me, at that clinic. Thirdly, you bought the clinic, and then you 20x'd it, and took over all of Clermont. And so, how do you scale like that? How does somebody grow? So obviously we have people watching who are, barely getting by or just have one clinic, but maybe have a bigger vision for their future. And again, you have 7 times more businesses and 20 times more influence than the average chiropractor. So what would you say to that person as to how do you go from where they are now to the kind of scale, the sort of size and impact of a Dr. Paul Sorchy?
Love the process. When you love your patients and you love what you've been called to do, it's like being in the middle of a stream. You fly. And you never, so the tributaries are when you have to get stuck into something to get better at it. We all have tributaries in life. But when you truly love your patients, you'll do anything for them. So that opens up opportunities for businesses, not because it's just about the money. Because honestly, most of us who are entrepreneurial, it isn't about the money. It's about seeing a business succeed, making sure that the purpose behind the business is successful, because otherwise you failed in your purpose, and that's not allowed. Losing money, that's just, that's investing sometimes. But to see that purpose achieved, that is the grandiose goal, because fulfillment, knowing that you saw the process do what it's supposed to do, you served your purpose, that is the addiction. So how do we do it? You hire good people. You don't do it yourself 100%. You can't be a master of everything. However, if you've got the gift of ADD and you've got the ability to multitask, which most of us have open room adjusting, that is why we're so gifted to multitask, is that we can call out all of our activities at once. The purpose itself is our patients. The purpose itself is to see something that's good for the world. It's a God given potential, achieving business that's fulfilling. So when it comes back to all this one thing, you're on purpose, and your purpose might not just be to move C1. It might be to also help find the right food, to give them an atmosphere that's healthy to work out in, to grow the food, to make sure you make it for them, because for God's sake, they don't juice it themselves. You end up creating little micro verticals that serve your patients and as well as yourself. But first, you have to find a need and then just fulfill it. It's really all that it is. When people ask me how I do it, my response is always, I don't. There's others that are doing it equal to or better than I am. But they're supposed to do it as if I was at the counter making the smoothie. How would you be feeding anybody if I came to your house? You'd be like, hey, Paul, you got to try this. This is not only tastes great, but it's awesome for you. We're excited about it. So it's like that with every person I hope that works for me. They're excited. They're stoked to share. And they're excited about the process, knowing that this might save a life. This lettuce leaf that doesn't have toxins on it might be the first piece of lettuce that doesn't put them over the edge because their potential is to be cancerous. Every step has to be that we know that we're making a difference. So business is business. Purpose is a whole different conversation.
I think you have chiropractors who would say, you're only supposed to stay in this one little box. And you and I come from a background where if you stepped outside that box, you were a bloody mixer, and a
Yeah,
bunch of people
yeah.
now hated you, and that unfortunately still exists today to some degree. But when I hear you talking, and obviously as a friend and somebody who's just got to observe you the last, 2 decades, when you said it earlier, find a need and fill it, that really reminds me of you. And, that's your ministry, that's your gifting, where a lot of people, there's the old metaphor for saving lives in chiropractic was the burning building, where it's our job. We're the only ones that are awake. We're the only ones that are aware that it's burning, and we're the only ones that know how to get them out. So we go and knock on every door, and we guide everybody out of that burning building, and we save thousands of lives. And that's the principle of chiropractic. It's the obligation and responsibility of people that know the
Yes.
principle, like we know the principle. For those that find a need and don't fill it, then really those are the ones that just sort of casually walk out of the burning building and let everybody die. And just like you started this, they're dying out there, and you and I know we can save them.
We have a tendency to become fairly dogmatic, and I know we certainly came out of that environment. I came out of a DE environment where we love everybody unless they adjusted below C3, and that was so I apologize if I ever diminished anybody out there and made you feel less than an amazing chiropractor because you were full spine. For the record, I'm a follower of Don and Dean Harrison. I'm a chiropractic biophysics guy. But honestly, I found those potentials. Really, Ben, it was you. I would not be here today with this level of success had I not been around those who were more successful. So praise God that I didn't pass my boards when I did. Praise God I didn't get into practice for a few years later because that gave you a chance to pace me. And then I was able to just, get into your peloton. And so the doctors, like yourself, Ben, who went forward, the Sigafooses and the Bens, you guys gave a pace and you showed us how we can do these things right. But there was so much more to the stories that I'm like, well, wait a minute, Ben eats a little bit differently. So even in that realm, that most of the nutritional information I have comes from the fact that you went to Italy and you shared, these guys smoke like chimneys, but they eat different. So we all started investigating. It's profound. I know it's so overutilized, but it doesn't make it any less of a statement. There's, you never know how far reaching something you say, think, or do today will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. Well, Ben, you've been the epitome of that just on your influence with those of us who are now leaders and impacting lives. It's exponential. So not to, but I don't want to miss a moment to say thank you. Also, I appreciate the fact that this office in Clermont, that the doctors that were here didn't really like the town. It's because the reason they weren't going to do their job here and enjoy it was because it wasn't their calling. So that's the other thing that's missing from the conversation is chiropractic in you? We've heard that, but chiropractic was in me and it's been festered and it wants to explode out of me. So does chiropractic lifestyle. So does my love for my faith, my Savior. So these are the things that we get excited about. Jesus is in me, chiropractic is in me, and I wake up like this. We're on purpose from the moment we wake up. And of course, I suck at a lot of organization, but that's why I have coaches like yourself. You've been my coach since the day I started, and re-engaging recently is like bring me back on track. Our practice is already back into a growth phase again, by the way, so I'm excited about that.
Awesome.
But as we walk through life on purpose, we always have those who help pull us back onto purpose. But when you're so busy, it's hard to stay off purpose because if you as the leader go off purpose, attitude reflects leadership, and then that's your slippery slope. So I've got 7 different companies that will remind me to get my butt back into gear and stay in tune with my purpose.
Well, Dr. Paul, I'll tell you, when I see you, I see Jesus, especially now with the longer hair. I really appreciate all you're doing for Clermont, but really when I know in knowing you, when I see you and I get to visit your office, you're just not Clermont's chiropractor. You are the world's chiropractor. Thank you for what you're doing for it. You are a great visionary. It really is a ministry. And I love what you said. If you're watching right now or listening and chiropractic has not gotten into you, reach out, get some help, do something about that, because it will change your life, and together we will change the world. Bless you guys. Appreciate you
Amen.
for listening and watching. Remember who you are.